Good morning, dear children. We continue with the chapter Lines and Angles. Today we begin Lines and Angles Part 5. Lines and Angles Part 5. Let's go to the next topic, types of pair of angles. We'll be learning the 10th type of pair of angles. So number 10, vertically opposite angles. Vertically opposite angles. So these are type of angles which are formed by the intersection of two lines. Let's read about its definition. The pair of angles formed by the intersection of two distinct lines and which are adjacent or neighbors, and they have a common vertex, but their two arms form opposite rays with each other, then such a pair of angles are known as vertically opposite angles. The pair of vertically opposite angles are always of equal measure, or we can say vertically opposite angles are congruent to each other. So we have to remember, children, vertically opposite angles are of equal measure. And if we look at this diagram closely, they look like the letter V, and there are two pair of letter V, one normal V and one inverted V. So here this two V type of angles will form vertically opposite angles. Similarly, in this next diagram, again we can see a left facing letter V and a right facing letter V. Then these two pair of angles are known as vertically opposite angles. And this two pair of angles will be of equal measure. Children, we have to remember vertically opposite angles are congruent angles and they are of equal measure. So if we look at this diagram, there are two lines which are intersecting each other at point O. Line AB and line CD are intersecting at point O. So we get two pair of vertically opposite angles. The first pair of angle will be angle AOC and angle BOD. So we can say angle AOC and angle BOD are vertically opposite angles. So we can look at this color code marking. This violet color marked angle will be vertically opposite angle. So we can say angle AOC and angle BOD are vertically opposite angles. Similarly, angle AOD and angle BOC, angle AOD and angle BOC will also form a vertically opposite angles, just like this shape. So this green colored marked angle is also known as the vertically opposite pair of angles. And we have to remember, children, vertically opposite angles are of equal measure and they are congruent to each other. So here I have written down the statement. If two lines, line AB and line CD, intersect each other at point O, then four angles are formed, because line AB is intersecting line CD at point O, and these four angles will form two pair of vertically opposite angles. Angle AOC and angle BOD form a pair of vertically opposite angles. Vertically opposite angles are of equal measure. So we can say angle AOC is congruent to angle BOD. So their measures will be equal. If angles are congruent, their measures are equal. So we can say measure angle AOC is equal to measure angle BOD. So here in this diagram we can say this violet colored marked angle is angle AOC and angle BOD. They are congruent angles. That means their measures will be equal. If angle AOC is 30 degree, then angle BOD will be 30 degree. Similarly, angle AOD and angle BOC form a pair of vertically opposite angles. Angle AOD and angle BOC form a pair of vertically opposite angles. So this green colored marked angle are vertically opposite angles. Angle AOD and angle BOC are vertically opposite angle. If angle AOD is 50 degree, then measure angle BOC will also be 50 degree. We can say vertically opposite angles are of equal measure. We can say vertically opposite angle are of equal measure. That is, vertically opposite angles are congruent. So we can say angle AOD is congruent to angle BOC. So their measures are equal. So we can say measure angle AOD is equal to measure angle BOC. Let's go to the next type of pair of angles. Number 11, alternate angles. Alternate angles are shown in this diagram. Let's find out which are alternate angles. The pair of angles lying on either side of the transversal and between two lines intersecting the transversal, then such a pair of angles are called alternate angles. For two parallel lines and its transversal, the alternate angles are of equal measure. We can say alternate angles formed between two parallel lines and its transversal are congruent angles. We can also say if alternate angles are congruent or if alternate angles are of equal measure, then the lines are parallel. If the lines are parallel, then we can say the alternate angles are of equal measure. So children, we have to remember, if lines are parallel, then alternate angles are of equal measure. And if alternate angles are of equal measure, then the lines are parallel for two lines and its transversal. Let's understand this example for two lines which are parallel. Line AB is parallel to line CD. So if we look in this diagram, line CD and line AB are parallel lines, or we can call them as line M and line N. Line M is parallel to line N, and we can say line PS is the transversal. Line PS is the transversal as it intersects both the lines at two different points. A line which intersects two different lines at two different points, that line is known as the transversal. So we can say line PS is the transversal of line M and line N. Now the angles which are formed, that is angle ARQ and angle DQR. Angle ARQ, that is this green colored marked angle, angle ARQ, and angle DQR, again this green colored marked angle. So we'll get a pattern like this design of S, angle ARQ and angle DQR. So this S pattern is formed, angle DQR, angle ARQ. So if we look at this pattern ARQ, DQR, so this S pattern is formed. That means these two angles which are marked in the green color are known as the alternate angles. And we have to remember, for parallel lines, alternate angles are of equal measure, or alternate angles are congruent angles. So we can say angle ARQ is congruent to angle DQR. That means their measures will be equal. So measure angle ARQ is equal to measure angle DQR. Children, this is possible only for parallel lines and its transversal. Alternate angles are of equal measure only for parallel lines and its transversal. Similarly, we get another pair of alternate angles, that is in the Z pattern. So if we look at these angles and try to find out the name of this angle, it will be angle CQR and angle BRQ. Let me repeat, angle CQR, angle BRQ, angle CQR, angle BRQ. So this violet colored marked angle are another pair of alternate angles. Angle CQR is congruent to angle BRQ. Therefore, measure angle CQR is equal to measure angle BRQ. So we can say alternate angles are of equal measure, or we can say alternate angles are congruent for parallel lines and its transversal. So if alternate angles are congruent, that means their measures will be equal. So if angle CQR is congruent to angle BRQ, because they are alternate angles, we can say their measures are equal. That means measure angle CQR is equal to measure angle BRQ. Children, we have to remember the alternate pair of angles form a particular design or a pattern of the English letter Z or S. So here in this diagram, I have shown the pattern, that is the Z pattern. And these two angles which are marked, that is the violet color, two angles on the internal part of the Z will be known as the alternate angles. Similarly, the S pattern is formed, which is the mirror image of the Z pattern, and here the green color pattern is marked for the angle, and these two angles will be known as the alternate pair of angles. So if the Z or the S pattern is formed for two parallel lines and its transversal, we can say the alternate angles are of equal measure, they are congruent, so we can very easily calculate their measurement, children. So we have to remember this pattern, that is the Z pattern or the S pattern. Such pattern when formed, then those two angles will be known as alternate angles, especially for parallel lines and its transversal. Let's go to the next type of pair of angles, number 12, corresponding angles. What are corresponding angles? The pair of angles lying in the same half plane of the transversal and lying either above or below the parallel lines are known as corresponding angles. The corresponding angles formed between parallel lines and its transversal are congruent angles and are of equal measure. Corresponding angles formed by parallel lines and its transversal are congruent angles and are of equal measure. Let us understand what are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles form a pattern of the English letter F. Children, if we observe this diagram, this looks like an inverted F. And similarly, this diagram also looks like the inverted F. The F pattern can be formed in different directions. It can be the normal F, or it can be the mirror image of the letter F, or it can be the inverted image of the right facing F, or the inverted image of the left facing F. If we look in this diagram, children, we get two parallel lines, that is line AB is parallel to line CD. Line AB is parallel to line CD. And we can say line PS is the transversal. Or we can say line M and line N are parallel lines and T is the transversal. So a line can be named by using two alphabets which denote the points situated on it, or it can be named by a single small letter to denote the line, or the line can be denoted by a single small letter. Here we can say line M is parallel to line N and line T is the transversal. So angle ARQ and angle CQP form a corresponding angles. Angle ARQ, angle ARQ, angle CQP. These two angles, which are marked with the green color, they form a corresponding pair of angles. Angle ARQ and angle CQP. They form a pair of corresponding angles. And we have to remember, for parallel line and its transversal, corresponding angles are congruent angles. That means they are of equal measure. So if angle ARQ is congruent to angle CQP, we can say measure angle ARQ is equal to measure angle CQP. These two angles are corresponding angles and they are congruent angles as the lines are parallel and they are intersected by the transversal. So if corresponding angles are congruent, then we can say the lines are parallel. And congruent angles are always of equal measure. So we can say measure angle ARQ is equal to measure angle CQP. Similarly, we can say measure angle BRQ is equal to measure angle PQD, because angle BRQ is congruent to angle PQD. If we look in this diagram, measure angle BRQ is congruent to angle PQD. Angle PQD. So we can say these two angles, angle PQD and angle BRQ, this violet colored marked angle are corresponding pair of angles. So this particular pattern of the F letter, inverted F letter, is formed. Angle PQD, angle PQD and angle BRQ, angle BRQ. So if you look in this pattern, BRQ is here and PQD is the second angle. So these two angles form corresponding angles. So we can say angle PQD and angle BRQ form a pair of corresponding angles and they are of equal measure. Similarly, we can say angle ARS is congruent to angle CQR as they are corresponding angles. Angle ARS is congruent to angle CQR. So we can say the measures are equal. So measure angle ARS equal to measure angle CQR. So let us see in the diagram. Angle ARS, angle ARS, angle ARS, and angle CQR. That means this pattern is formed, angle CQR and angle ARS. So this F pattern is formed, angle CQR and angle ARS. That is in this diagram. If we see, I marked it with the green color, angle CQR and angle ARS. Both are congruent angles, their measurements are equal, congruent angles have the same measure, so both will be 115 degree. If one of them is given 115 degree, we can say the other corresponding angle will also be 115 degree. The measures will be equal. And let us go to the next pair of corresponding angles, that is angle BRS is congruent to angle DQR because they are corresponding angles, so their measures are equal. So we can say measure angle BRS equal to measure angle DQR. Angle BRS and angle DQR. Let's see in the diagram. Angle BRS, angle BRS and angle DQR. So we can say this pattern is formed, that is the normal F pattern is formed. So these two violet colored marked angles are known as the corresponding angles. Angle BRS, angle BRS and angle DQR. So angle DQR and angle BRS. So these two violet colored angles, they will have the same measurement. If one of them is given as 65 degree, the other angle will also be 65 degree. If measure angle DQR is 65 degree, we can say measure angle BRS will also be 65 degree. Children, here also I have used the color code system to make you understand that congruent angles will have the same measurement, and so I've given them the same color notation, that is both are violet color and they are congruent angles, they are corresponding angles. Similarly, this green colored angles are corresponding angles and they are having the same measurement. So we can say for two parallel lines and its transversal, we get 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Total 8 angles are formed, but we can say 4 pairs of corresponding angles are there. 4 pairs of corresponding angles are there because 8 angles are formed, and if we take the group of corresponding angles, then total 4 pairs are formed. So we can say 4 pairs of corresponding angles are formed for two parallel lines and its transversal. Children, we have to also remember the corresponding pair of angles form a pattern of the English letter F. So we get a normal F, a mirror image of the normal F, an inverted image of the left facing F, and the inverted image of the right facing F. So the corresponding angles form the pattern of the English letter capital F. Children, if we remember this pattern, we can very easily identify the corresponding pair of angles. Let's go to the next type of pair of angles. Number 13, co-interior angles. The pair of angles lying between two lines and in the same half plane of their transversal are known as the co-interior angles. The co-interior angles form a C pattern or a mirror image of the C pattern. So co-interior angles are supplementary pair of angles. Children, we have to understand for two parallel lines and its transversal, if the C pattern is formed, the angles lying inside the C pattern will be supplementary pair of angles. That means the sum of measures of both these angles will be 180. If one angle is given as 100 degree, we can say the other co-interior angle will be 80 degree because their sum total should be 180 degree, because we can say the co-interior angles are supplementary. Co-interior angles are supplementary pair of angles. So let us see the diagram of co-interior angles. So in this particular diagram, we are getting two parallel lines. We can say line M is parallel to line N and line T is the transversal. Or we can say line AB is parallel to line CD and line PS is the transversal. Line AB is parallel to line CD and line PS is the transversal. Then the two pair of angles which are co-interior angles are angle and angle CQR. Angle ARQ and angle CQR. So we can say this C pattern is formed. Angle ARQ and angle CQR. So these two green colored angles marked inside the C pattern are known as co-interior angles. So these two angles are co-interior angles. Angle ARQ and angle CQR are co-interior angles, and the sum of measures of their angles will be 180 degree because co-interior angles are supplementary. So if one of them is given as 125 degree, we can calculate and find out that the other angle will be 55 degree because 125 plus 55 degree, their sum total will be 180 degree. So we can say co-interior angles are supplementary pair of angles. Co-interior angles are supplementary pair of angles. Similarly, the angle lying between the two parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal is known as the co-interior angles. So here line PS is the transversal, and these two angles marked in the violet color lie on the same side of the transversal and they lie between the two parallel lines. So we can say they are co-interior angles. So their names we can denote as angle DQR and angle BRQ. Those two angles are angle BRQ and angle DQR. So we get this pattern angle DQR and angle BRQ. So this complete C pattern we get angle BRQ and angle DQR are interior angles, co-interior angles, and co-interior angles are supplementary. So the sum of measures of both the angles will be 180 degree. So we can say measure angle BRQ plus measure angle DQR is equal to 180 degree because they are co-interior angles and co-interior angles are supplementary. Let's go to the next type of pair of angles, that is exterior angles, co-exterior angles. Number 14, co-exterior angles. The pair of angles not lying between two lines, but they lie in the same half plane of the transversal, then those two angles are known as co-exterior angles. They form a pattern like the Greek alphabet pi. So here this alphabet resembles the letter of the Greek alphabet, that is the letter pi, and this pattern when formed, then we can say the angles formed on either side of this two lines are known as the exterior angles. The pi pattern can be formed in any direction. It can be a normal letter pi or an inverted letter pi or a left facing pi and a right facing pi. The pattern can be formed in any direction, but children, we have to identify this pattern in order to find out which are the exterior angles. So here in this green color marking I have shown outside the two parallel lines, not between the two parallel lines but outside the two parallel lines. So these two green color marked angles are known as exterior angles. Similarly in this diagram, this violet colored marked angle are known as exterior angles, co-exterior angles, and they are marked outside the two parallel lines. They are not marked inside the two parallel lines or between the two parallel lines. So let us find out in this next diagram, that is co-exterior angles. The first diagram is of interior angles and the second diagram is of co-exterior angles. The angles are marked outside the parallel lines. So the first pair of angles we will say as angle ARS and angle CQP. Angle ARS and angle CQP. Co-exterior angles are also supplementary, children. So we have to remember the sum of measures of co-exterior angle will be 180 degree. If one of the angle is given as 65 degree, the other angle will be 115 degree because their sum of measures should be 180 degree. That is 115 plus 65, the answer will be 180 degree. So we can say co-exterior angles are supplementary. So angle ARS and angle CQP are co-exterior angles. The green colored marked angles are co-exterior angles. Similarly, on the right side of this transversal, in the same half plane of the transversal but outside the two parallel lines, this violet colored marked angles are known as co-exterior angles. They are angle BRS and angle DQP. Angle DQP and angle BRS are co-exterior angles. The violet colored marked angles are known as co-exterior angles. Co-exterior angles are supplementary. That means their sum of measures of their angles will be 180 degree. If one of the angle is given as 115 degree, the other angle will be calculated as 65 degree because their sum of measures will be 180 degree. Because when we add 115 plus 65, their sum total will be 180 degree. So we can say co-exterior angles are supplementary. Their sum total of measures of their angles will be 180 degree. So we can say for line AB is parallel to line CD and line PS is the transversal, then the sum of measures of the co-exterior angles will be 180 degree. The two co-exterior angles are angle ARS and angle CQP. So when we add their measurement, their sum total will be 180 degree. So we can make a formula: measure angle ARS plus measure angle CQP is equal to 180 degree. Similarly, the other pair of co-exterior angles are angle BRS and angle DQP, and their sum of measures will be 180 degree because co-exterior angles are supplementary. So we can make a formula: measure angle BRS plus measure angle DQP is equal to 180 degree. So we can say for two parallel lines and its transversal, we get two pair of co-exterior angle and we also get two pair of co-interior angles. So for two parallel lines and its transversal, there will be two pair of co-interior angles, two pair of co-exterior angles, four pair of corresponding angles, four pair of vertically opposite angles, eight linear pair of angles, two pair of alternate angles. So children, you'll have to revise all this 14 pair of angles and their names, and you have to understand them very nicely. If you have not understood, children, please repeat the videos 2-3 times. Go through the videos again and again 2-3 times until you understand this concept very clearly. Children, this type of pair of angles and the type of pair of lines and the different definitions and theories I've explained in this lesson are really important for the next 3 classes. So children, please do not take it lightly. Memorize and understand these concepts very, very clearly. Thank you, children.